Father Steve mentioned at the beginning of our celebration, today is Gaudete Sunday. Rejoice, joyful Sunday. And we hear a lot of that in the scriptures today. From Zephaniah, sing aloud, O daughter of Zion, shout, O Israel, rejoice and exult with all your heart. And that's like, Zephaniah is from the Old Testament. And I'll get to the significance of that in a second. Even St. Paul to the Philippians, this is after Jesus has ascended. This is the early Christian community. And he's saying, rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice. And of course, we hear it in the gospel. People going out to John for the first time, coming to hearing about this baptism. And he's giving them this incredible hope, this incredible new reality of life. So why is that important? Well, we have to remember Zephaniah, and even during Paul's time, and at John the Baptist, which is before Paul, we know that the people of Israel have been exiled. They have been suppressed. They have been overruled by many other nations for centuries at this point. God had made a promise. He said, you will be my people, and yet they had felt abandoned. They had all felt abandoned except for a small remnant. So there was a sense of anticipation, but many of the people felt so heavily burdened by what they could see. They felt abandoned by God, whether in Zephaniah's time, whether it was in Paul's time, or before that during John the Baptist's time. There was this sense of understanding that, we're just too sinful, there's no direction, God has abandoned us, and so forth. And God doesn't abandon the Israelites. Who abandoned who? Who abandoned who? Does God abandon us? No. Who abandoned? The Israelites. By their own doing. By the things they didn't do or the things they did do. However, there was a remnant. A remnant that God really focused on. And these were the people who remained faithful even during time of exile and confusion and no direction, feeling that God may have, knowing God is there but not seeing him, making that intellectual act of faith and not really understanding but hoping, having this tremendous hope in the midst of their suffering, in the midst of all this stuff that's going on. This was a small remnant of Israel. Can we think of anybody that had that kind of faith? Mary, Joseph, Anne, John the Baptist. There's a whole list of people that you could think of in the scriptures that were that remnant that kept faith even during the time of their suppression and exile. They sang their songs to God, and God sang upon them. Each and every time he saw a faithful heart. He saw a heart that was rejoicing. Today is Rejoice Sunday. Rejoicing is not a feeling. Rejoice is based on the faith that God is truly present. At the time of John the Baptist, Jesus was already present in a physical, very physical way for 30 years. And he is still present to us today, 2,000 or so years later. There's 4 of you. I don't know where the fourth one is. Oh, 2 right here, right. 4 of you are going to be receiving Jesus. Who are you going to be receiving for the first time today? Jesus. He is truly present. And we are called to remember that even in the midst of our own suffering. Last couple weeks, I've heard many people have come and talked to me. And just suffering in so many different ways, whether it's losing a job, losing a loved one, whether it's just having no direction, perhaps their prayer life was somewhat dry, not knowing what to do in their life with regard to their vocation. Some of them had retired and thought, now what? Some are in retirement saying, what am I supposed to do? I remember that when I was first ordained a priest. Like within 6 months, I'm looking around saying, what am I supposed to do now? And the reason for that is because there was always this goal I had, like to graduate, to get this degree, get the next degree, perhaps get ordained a deacon, get ordained a priest. There's always something coming up. And I always had a personal goal. And I was like, what do I do? What do I do? My spiritual director said to me, Thom, you need to be. You need to be a son of God. You need to have that spirit of rejoicing in your heart, knowing that God is with you. You need to be, she would have said to any of you, be a son and a daughter of God and embrace that identity, knowing that God is truly present. Sometimes our lives seem to be confusion. Relationships are struggling. Marriages might be struggling. Heck, things might be going great for you. Even there, we need to raise our song to God. So that rejoicing, this time of rejoicing as we journey to Bethlehem in a week and a half. Joseph and Mary are journeying to Bethlehem with us, and we are with them. And so for the next week and a half, we need to reflect on the very fact that God is with us. And how do we know that? Because God said so. That's all we need to know. God said so. That's it. And that's the faith that we need to keep in our hearts even when we're struggling in our lives. To know that God is truly present to us. That we need to sing our praises to God and allow God to sing upon us, to smile upon us, knowing that even in the midst of chaos and confusion, we can have that rejoicing spirit based on faith, not on the way we feel today or tomorrow or yesterday. That God is with us. That's what we are going to celebrate on this most wonderful feast day in a week and a half. Today, we need to ask ourselves the question, in whatever is happening in our lives right now, good, bad, or indifferent, can we sing our praises to God and rejoice knowing of his presence? And does God have reason to sing upon us as individuals or as a community?